I'm Leigh Brown. This is Real Talk. Today I've brought you my friend Scott Wendl all the way from Iowa, of course, my old stomping ground, so I always love to go visit him and his wife, Kristen. He's been in real estate a long time, has some great insights for you, ideas, and maybe a little inspiration for getting your own financial house a little stronger. So enjoy this conversation with Scott, and I'll see you on the other side. So hello, Scott Wendl, and welcome to the show. This is not your first time on here. Is it your second time?
I think it might be the first time with an actual conversation interview. Yeah.
Oh, for real? Because this is like season 12. I would have figured you'd have been on here because I've known you for a lot longer than I've had a podcast.
Maybe I just didn't have anything interesting to talk about.
Well, I mean, the interesting things you want to talk about get you in trouble, so we have to keep your business very happy and active and alive. But you've been state president. You've had your brokerage for a long time. You've got an amazing, beautiful wife, smart kids. The kids are out of the house now. I mean, what's going on?
We just celebrated our last one moving out. We moved her to St. Petersburg, Florida about 2 weeks ago. So she's the newest ER nurse at St. Joseph Hospital down there and 15 minutes away from St. Pete Beach, which is one of our favorite places in the world.
Oh, congrats to her. That's exciting.
Yeah. And she's been avoiding a boyfriend all summer because she's going to move down there. And she found out the guy that she was friends with moved down there a week before her. So now they're officially boyfriend and girlfriend, and we love the kid to death. He's awesome.
Uh-oh. So is this the one? Are you going to be planning a Florida wedding?
Way too premature. Way too prematurely. I'm worried more about my oldest one that's been with her hockey player for a couple of years.
Oh, that's right. So so tell the audience where you're located, what you do around real estate. Obviously, you're not from Florida. So tell them more of the Scott Wendl story besides the fact that your sweet babies are doing great.
Been in the business for 29 years from Des Moines, Iowa. Kind of when I started, I was probably one of the youngest agents in the Des Moines market. Now it seems like everybody gets in right out of college if they can't find a real job. And been investing in real estate ever since then. Been involved with local leadership, being the local board president in 2014, a state president in the notorious COVID year of 2020, and been an RVP for Region 8 for NAR, as well as being on the board of directors and a federal political coordinator for Senator Joni Ernst from the state of Iowa.
All right, so I have to ask about Senator Ernst. Have you been to her pig farm? Because she's pigs, right? Or is that just the ad?
I don't think she has a pig farm. She
that was
just
her
likes
best
to make
ad,
people.
though.
I did do her roast and ride a couple weeks ago. That's a motorcycle ride, and Christy Nome was there. She rode her own motorcycle, and it was a fun political event. It was a lot more fun when everybody was running for president. We had every candidate there in 2019, the last election. It was a lot of fun.
I love how you don't know what year it is. That was 2024, the last time we had a presidential election.
I know, but I'm trying to think of the year that everybody was running against each other until they finally, so it probably would have been 23.
It's okay. Somebody asked me when I had lived in Iowa, and I said, well, I volunteered on a presidential campaign. They said, who? I said, Dole. And they said, wait, what? And I said, yeah.
Oh.
You probably weren't born yet when I was volunteering on Dole's presidential hopefulness in 1992.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So you have so many different angles we could go in here, but one of the things that you've been so active doing is investing in real estate, which a lot of realtors are scared of because obviously real estate income goes up and down, and investing can mean your tax returns don't really look favorable for getting loans. And then you hear about all the wholesaling and the seller finance, and that scares people. But when you learn how to do it consistently, it's really not that scary. So I'd love for you to talk a little bit about what you've done with investing over the years when you didn't have any money, and now that you're more established and got it smoothed out. What are you changing? What are you doing differently? Because obviously, in the 29 years you've been in real estate, Iowa looks different because it used to be a net exporter of people. Now you're one of the fast growing states. So talk to us about some of those angles.
You know what? It started when I was renting a 2-bedroom townhouse with 3 other guys, and I was sharing a basement that wasn't even technically legal for a bedroom to save money. And my dad showed up and he goes, "What are you paying for this place?" And I don't know. This was back in the early 90s. I think I was paying $600 a month rent. He goes, "You need to buy a house." And I go, "Dad, I don't have any money." And he goes, "I grew up on a farm. My dad paid me $3 an hour. and he took $1.50, put it into savings. I think 75 cents was for spending and 75 cents were for clothing and essentials. So he kind of taught us the value of money back then. And he goes, you've got $20,000 saved up. And I'm like, wow, that's a lot of money. And the first house I bought was a green and black trim split foyer, 5-bedroom with orange shag carpet, yellow walls from smoking, pink appliances. And I had 4 roommates move in, and my house payment was $471 a month. And I was bringing in $1,000 a month for rent. And that was a lot of money, especially not paying rent in the early 90s. Did that for about 3 years, got married, kicked everybody out. And the best advice I got when I started in real estate was an agent that's been in the business for a long time. Unfortunately, she's passed away. She grabbed me and she goes, Scotty, if I were you, I'd buy a rental property every year you're in the business. And I took that to heart, and I found 3 duplexes that I was able to buy on contract. And I did a line of credit against my house that I bought. You know, it's not the Dave Ramsey way of leveraging yourself, but I didn't know any better back then. Didn't cash flow at all. But since then, I've kind of been in it for the long term. I've done a couple 1031s to bigger, better properties, or I did like 3 duplexes into 4 duplexes. And that is my retirement plan. The awesome part about that is when they started cash flowing really well, that extra money was going towards fueling my Roth, my SEP, 401k with my business. And retirement looks really good for me now.
In your car issue, does your rental income pay for those cars that you like so much?
You know what? I've also learned if I can't afford to pay cash for a toy, I don't deserve it. And it may have helped. Also, just living well beneath my means, living on a salary. I've had some great years in real estate, and it's been fun to be able to buy toys like that. And I love to travel also. That's another guilty pleasure that I have.
Well, that is the Dave Ramsey way to pay cash for what you want. But I want to look back at that first house, because when you think about what you bought, it was not perfect. It was what a lot of people would say is a fixer-upper, good bones, blah, 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 especially a smoker house where it's getting into the walls. And then you mentioned having all these roommates. I'm thinking right now about the conversation around young people buying houses, and you and I have probably talked about this. I don't think their expectations are correct, because I think it's harder for a young person right now to put up with shag carpet, ugly appliances, and smoke on the walls because they want perfect. And they also don't want to have 4 roommates. But you did what was necessary, and it wasn't perfect by any means, but it paid the bills so that you weren't paying somebody else's bills. Do you see in your market, because obviously Iowa is usually one of the more affordable marketplaces, is there still a way for young people to do what you did and get a house that's bigger than they need to rent out some rooms and house hack it, so still better than rent? Can they get into home ownership that way?
You know, it's funny you bring that up, Leigh, because what I did, I kind of just did with my son. He turned 20 years old. It's kind of a small world story in Des Moines. We have a private Facebook page like a lot of brokerages do, where we talk about listings on there. And there was an agent that said, hey, I've got this seller. They want to sell their house off market. It was a hoarder situation. I looked at it and I told my wife, I go, Kristen, I think your parents' house that I sold 15 years ago is coming back on the market, and we might be able to buy it at a wholesale price. So I reached out to the agent and I asked him 2 things. I go, why are they selling? And how did you get hooked up with them? Because I sold that house to the person that was living there. And he goes, Scott, I hate to say this, but you're the only agent in the Des Moines market she does not want in the house because she's so embarrassed with how it looks.
I mean, it's funny and sad at the same time. Funny that she doesn't want you in the house, but sad because she wanted it to be pretty.
Yeah. And first thing I thought of is like, oh, this would be a great project. Get the house back into the family, because my in-laws built it in 1968. They've lived in it for 40 years and backed up to a cornfield, and now it's developed with newer homes. So we ended up getting it bought at a great price. We hauled away 2 40-yard dumpsters of garbage out of there, and we ended up fixing it up. And my son was kind of working in heavy construction and running heavy equipment, not making a ton of money. And he goes, Dad, I can't afford this. I go, you know what? How about I sell it to you on contract? You get a couple roommates and it'll help cover your mortgage. And he goes, all right, that sounds fine. I've got 2 daughters that went to college. I figured I paid $80,000 of tuition. I figured that was the best gift I could give a young person, especially my kids, this time in their life with no student loan debt. And I go, Drake, you know what? You joined the military also. You decided not to go to college. you saved me $80,000. So I'm
True.
going to give you $80,000 equity in this house and sell it back to you, lower price. And he made payments for a year on time. We got the place fixed up. We probably stuck 90 grand into it, and it was awesome. And he went to refinance it to get me off the loan and pay me out. And
Oh,
I thought it was worth about 300 to 325,000. And the appraisal came in at $400,000. And called my son to tell him, and he goes, "You think we should sell it?" And I go, "No."
oh,
So he's still living there. He loves it. He has two roommates that are helping him make payments. He's just turned 22 years old last week, and his probably one of his best friends is the neighbor that's 60 years old, and they're always tinkering motorcycles and cars in the garage with the roommates and the neighbor. So it's a pretty cool story, and I don't see him moving anytime soon. He has a serious girlfriend. It'd be awesome once she finishes college that they kick the roommates out and get married and live happily ever after, like my wife and I did.
there's so much to unravel about that story, not just the generational emotional ties that we get to houses and how you got to bring it back in the family, but the the pattern of you didn't think you could do it and your dad said yes you can, and your son says I don't think I can do it and you said yes you can. I
Hmm.
think that's what we need to get our home buyers of today and tomorrow to understand that you can. It might be tricky and it might not be perfect, but there's probably a way. And I don't know that we've got that same amount of American I can do it attitude that we used to have, especially when it comes to home ownership, because I mean, I'm not a fan of this new 50-year mortgage idea. I think it's absolutely crazy for
Hmm.
people to be that strung out on interest just to get in a house, but there's creative ways to do it, even if it's not perfect. And there's also that power of networking, of paying attention to the people around you to find a house. And do you think that's going to increase with the changes to structural real estate that we'll have more of these word of mouth sales?
100%. Lee, I bought two houses with basically no money down. And I stumbled across them just by being in the business. I've got a property that is going to be paid off in December next year, and I bought it for $1,000
Wait,
because
what?
I had it listed, and I told the seller she was moving out of the area to another city for a job. And I go, you know what? The market is not very favorable right now. You're going to have to write a check to get out of this. I don't know if you remember those days where people actually
Oh,
had to
yeah.
write checks to sell houses. She goes, Scott, I'm already 2 months behind on my house payment. And I go, you know what? How about we do this? How about I get your payment caught up? I buy it on contract and I refinance it in 3 years and pay you off completely. She was ecstatic because she got rid of the house, the hassle. And I think I paid about $90,000 for that 16, 17 years ago. And I just sold the exact same floor plan last year for 205,000. All that equity is there, ready for retirement. And then another property that I bought, it was a condo. Guy was in the military. He was getting activated to go across seas. It was right before like 2008, 9 when the market started slowing down. And he goes, I go, you're going to have to write a check to get out of this. The market is not very favorable right now to get it sold. He goes, Scott, I'm getting activated in the military for a year, like to go to Kuwait or Afghanistan. I go, you know what? How about we do this? I'll take over your payments for you and I'll refinance it in 6 months to a year and get you completely off the loan. And I just sold it this summer and did a 1031 in some land that I bought. And again, basically bought this place for $1,000, had renters in there the whole time, paying everything down. And I'm in it for the long haul, not the cash flow. And I think that's what a lot of agents get distracted with. It's like, oh, I'm going to buy all these rental properties and I'll have this income coming in and I won't have to work. It happens sometimes, but you have to deal with a lot of properties to do that, to get scale that high. Yeah, there's just more risk and you got to keep your eye on the ball a little better.
Well, and you've said multiple times the long haul. That's got to be something people get back to the front of their head when it comes to real estate, not the flipping that you see on TV, but
Mhm.
buy it and hold it over the long haul, because a lot of buyers are waiting for prices to go back to that 2008, 9, 10 environment. They're probably not going back there, but if you just look forward 16, 17 years from today, I'm just going to wager a guess that real estate's going to be more expensive 16, 17 years from now. So if you figure out how to buy it now, you're figuring out how to be in it for the long haul, because over the history of real estate, it goes up and we can't guarantee how much or when. There's fluctuations that happen, but this 3-year mindset's got to stop, because I think it's
Mhm.
keeping people from buying. And we have people in our office that wish they'd bought in 19, 20, 21, 22, but they kept dragging their feet. And now they're like, it's it's not going down. Like, I know. I mean, this is a moment in the market when it's a little quieter. You can negotiate a little bit, and you're still paying more than you would have paid 4 years ago. It's
Uh-huh.
I think real estate's a forward looking endeavor more so than it is backward looking. But right now we got people looking backwards.
Well, I always tell people like, well, what about the market? And I go, you know what? I've bought on the high, I bought on the low. I've had properties go the value go below what I paid for it, but I didn't sell it, so I didn't lose any money. And if you can afford to hold on
Exactly.
to real estate, it'll be worth it in the long run. A good
Well, yeah.
example, a good example is that first house I bought. I think I paid $72,000 for it. Lived there for 5 or 7 years, sold it for 117 or 119,000. The last time I saw it sold was $289,000.
It's a
So
knife in the heart.
yeah, I wanted to buy it when it went into foreclosure a few years ago. My wife's like, no, I remember dirt in the basement coming through the crack in the wall, and I don't want anything to do with that house anymore.
Okay, well, yeah, she was over that house for sure. All right, so you mentioned a couple times as well buying on contract. For the
Mhm.
audience that's not in real estate, because we get a lot of normal people that watch this and listen to it, tell them what it is to buy on contract and how it works in Iowa.
Basically, it's like seller financing. Lee, let's say that you have a house for sale for $200,000. I can't go to a bank and get financing either because I might be maxed out with properties or I don't have the job history, but I know I can afford it and make it work. I'd go up to you and say, hey, how about I buy your place for $200,000? I do have some money to put down if you are liquid enough. And Lee, you're basically my bank, and I would make payments to you until I could become bankable and pay you off. A lot of times there's balloons where I would have to pay you off in, let's say, 3 or 5 years. I've also sold properties to people where, so let's say their credit's not that good. I'll give them 3 to 5 years to get it figured out. If they don't, then I raise the interest rate, maybe a percentage every year to motivate them to get them in line to be able to buy.
Okay, so if the seller says yes and they have an outstanding mortgage, and now your contract purchase is basically covering the note for them, what's
Mhm.
your protection against the seller saying, "You know what? I got this $1,000 coming in and I got a car payment." And then they take the dollars and don't pay their mortgage, so now the bank gets involved on them. How do you protect yourself against that?
You know what? A lot of times it's a leap of faith doing that. You hopefully trust that everybody's going to do what they're supposed to do. We hear these scams all the time where, oh, I'm going to buy your house on contract. You have to make the payments on it, or you'll have an investor that sells it on contract. They collect the payments, but they don't do it. And then the next thing you know,
Yeah.
that contract buyer's in foreclosure. There's a risk to everything. I think a lot of it's trust. The people that have participated in these contract purchases that I have, I think reputation helps. Also, they were both referred to me by someone that they trust, which in this business, it's huge. And Des Moines is a small town. If you think about it, if you start screwing people over, it's going to get back to hurting your business. So
Everybody. Yeah.
do the right thing right the first time and don't be sneaky. You know, you're a CRS person. The best thing I learned in CRS is you don't have to have a very good memory if you tell the truth all the time.
Amen. It's very
Mhm.
true. Especially the older we get and the longer we're in the business, we have more at risk, but we also
Absolutely.
have more relationships to help people patch it through. And I love that you brought this up right now because in looking at the jobs numbers, there's already starting to be some cracks out there, and there's going to be people that are out of work and they're not making a house payment, but they don't know what to do next. And this is just another way to start figuring out how you can find a solution so that somebody else doesn't get into a financial hole they can't get out of.
Yep.
So what are you buying now? Are you still buying in Des Moines? Are you buying in the ring counties in that area?
Uh,
What are you looking at?
I'm not really buying it. Well, I'm trying to think. I'm always looking for duplexes, but I have buyers looking for duplexes. And I told them, I go, I'm not in the market right now. I'm not your competition. You know, if the right opportunity pops up, I'll buy it. I flipped a house this summer and that refreshed my memory that I hate flipping houses because all of that time I spent tearing out the kitchen or doors and cleaning up the yard, I could have been focusing on real estate and making a lot more money and not having a sore back and arms and legs at the end of the day and the weekend doing all that. And the money wasn't that great, really, when it was all said and done. Plus, you
It's
pay
just
taxes on that.
it's not the right market for that really, but there's still
Mhm.
opportunities that come up. But you're right, it's a balance of what your time is worth. It's flipping is it's just such an unknown. The older I get, I don't like the risk of it because you don't know when a buyer's going to show up, what they'll pay for it. It's very painful. I like to buy and hold because I don't like the stress. So,
I love the process of taking a turd and polishing it, and it's just kind of fun. I built houses before, and that's another great way to lose money, I found out, but that's a whole other story.
well, our favorite local builder, he's just here in the county. He just slashed the prices on his inventory because the inventory's been sitting thanks to the shutdown. Not that we have a lot of federal workers here, but it just gives people nerves and they don't pull the trigger. So he's out there slicing his profit margin. And I hate that because he's one of the good guys and you want the good guys to
Oh,
make money so they stay in business.
yep, yep.
All right, so I'm switching gears. I know that you had a scenario with death recently, and so since we started off the show talking about all the new life and the kids that are doing great things, and maybe having some more kids added to the family in the future, who knows? Talk to us a little bit about what you just encountered and your little crazy personal story.
So I always bring this up. Agents sometimes they want to change the closing date, move it back a little bit, extend it out another couple weeks, and it always brings me to a story that happened a few years ago. Everybody has, the tail end of a domino effect of maybe 3 or 4 homes where that first one has to close in order for everything else to fall in line. So the end result is everybody gets in their house in the days that they want and close on time. Well, I was the last 2 transactions on a domino effect of about 4. And the original domino or house that was up for sale that had an accepted offer on it, the agent called me. It's like, hey, Scott, is there any way we can move that closing date back about 3 weeks? And I go, well, why? Everybody's set up, moving trucks, utilities, the whole 9 yards. He goes, well, the original sellers, they booked a vacation. They realized it was the same time as the closing. And I kind of screwed up and didn't realize that. And I go, well, how much would it cost to change the dates for the vacation? Is that an option? And he goes, about $1,000. And I go, well, it sounds like you need to write a check for $1,000 to make this right so we can still close on time. Long and the short of it is, everything closed on time. I ran into the original agent about 3 months later. He goes, Scott, you'll never guess what happened. I'm so glad you stuck with that closing date because after everything closed, 3 days after the whole transaction came together and closed and everybody moved into their house, the original buyer passed away. And,
Oh,
and,
of
and
domino number one.
yes. And I was thinking if we would have not stuck to our guns and stuck with the original closing date, that would have blown up 5 people's lives basically on not being able to close on time and trying to resell everything. So that's just one of those stories that I bring up if somebody wants to change something or put things out. I always tell people the earlier the closing, the better. People pass away, people lose jobs, people do stupid stuff like buy a car before they close and screw over the ratios up or furniture or something like that too.
Well, and we know there's real reasons people have to delay. Somebody's got put in the hospital or they've had a death in the family. Things happen, but
Hmm.
vacation
Yeah,
really shouldn't interrupt all of that, especially over $1,000 because as you mentioned, everybody had money outlaid and that
absolutely.
was going to get real expensive.
Absolutely.
Plus, it's just an honor thing. People should hold up their end of a bargain. And even if the agent didn't catch the vacation, it seems to me those people signed the paperwork. So maybe they weren't paying attention either.
Yeah, that's what makes real estate fun. Every day is different. Every transaction's different. You have to stay on your toes to make it all work out.
I know. And you've managed to not just babysit your own clients, but the agents around you too. Last thing I got to ask you before we let you off the show here. Des Moines got this crazy situation with your school superintendent. Where's that right now? As of the recording of this show on November 13th, do y'all have a new superintendent yet and a new school board?
It's funny, small world story. The new superintendent, he was an interim one for a while last time they were looking. Now I think he's the superintendent now. He's my neighbor and he married a gal from my hometown. And he's a great guy. He's from Texas and he doesn't put up with kids' crap and parents' crap. He just
Good.
he does a good job and people like him. I guess our fake superintendent that got caught, they have his court date pushed back till April, I think, of next year. So that comes up on the media every once in a while. Kind of
Well, but at
embarrassing.
least the good outcome is you get a great new fresh perspective out of all that national drama over somebody that should never been hired in the first place.
I know it just blows me away that something like that slipped through the cracks with such a huge position in the Des Moines school.
It's also a reminder, y'all, if you're wherever you're watching this, pay attention to your local school board, whether you have kids in the school system or not. you've got to be keeping an eye on who's in charge of it, because that's all of our future is these kids. And we have to make sure we're holding our leadership and the people who hire them to account. So if you're in real estate, you have to pay attention to schools. And if you're buying investment properties, as Scott and I can tell you, the better the school district, the better the renters, and the better the resale value of any house.
Absolutely. 100%.
All right. What do you want to leave our audience with before you tag out of here? What's the one thing you wish they would be prepared for going into 2026?
Oh, boy, that's a tough one. I've already set my goals and kind of have stuff in place. I just want to be able to have a great work-life balance. My wife is semi-retired, and coordinate keeping my clients happy and going on the trips that I want to go on.
Where are you going? What's the big trip for 26?
Got a big cruise coming up in November in Europe. We're going to St. Martin in January, then going on a catamaran cruise in January. Right after that, I try to go somewhere once a month, at least a long weekend.
You may as well. I mean, what are you going to do? Save the money until you're too old to enjoy it? Go. Got to go.
You know what, Leigh? I don't want to be one of those people that retire, then all of a sudden they can't physically do the trips. Or, sad example, one of our neighbors she just retired this year and she has melanoma in her eye, and they're ready to go have fun. And I want to be able to do it because I can do it, instead of 10 years from now wishing I would have done it.
I'm going to totally make my husband watch this episode, because he told me that I was wanting to plan a trip without enough planning. And I'm like, what's the point of planning? We pay for it, we go, we manage. And because he's an engineer, he doesn't handle that real well. But I'm going to remind him that we need to go travel while we're still young and able to do all the things.
You know what? My wife was an ER nurse and my daughter's an ER nurse. Life is short. Have fun when you can do it.
All right, y'all. That is Scott Wendl. Scott, what's the best way for somebody to reach out to you if they have questions about Des Moines real estate or anywhere in the state of Iowa? Because you got people. How should they find you?
Pop up pretty easily in Google searches, which is kind of nice. But just my website is www.scottwendl.com. No E on the end, or call me at 515-249-9225. Usually get back to you right away, unless I'm on a trip.
And just remember, y'all, he is a Gen Xer. That's why he put the www on the domain, which that's hilarious to me, because young people don't do that. That's our generation that does. But I've got all of his contact information is in the show notes for this episode. So feel free to reach out, because he can help you with anywhere in the Midwest. And if you have questions about investments, he'll probably be glad to answer those too. Scott, it's so good to see you, and thank you for coming on the show.
Absolutely. Have a great one, Leigh.
All right, guys, say something nice about Scott down in the comments. Hit the bell to subscribe, and we'll see you next time. Now, if this episode brought you value, made you laugh, cry, or in between, then don't forget to subscribe, leave a 5-star review, and share this with somebody else in the real estate trenches. You'll find a Real Talk with Leigh Brown on every major podcast app, so hit follow, and I'll see you in the next conversation. Don't forget to DM me if you've got a story. I might just want to feature you next.